Hi, everybody. How you doing? Martin Lopez here. The Curiosity Theory, our hangout every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Pacific time. We have what I call the Curiosity Theory Hangout. I wrote a book called The Curiosity Theory. It's called From Curiosity Theory from Conflict to Resolution. That's where it started, but it's grown, and there's so many changes. It's so many different manifestations that's happened as a result of the book and as a result of COVID. So ever since the beginning of COVID, quite a few of my friends have been asking me to do a show on and to take a curious look at racism and bias, prejudice, all those different things. And to be honest, I've been very nervous about that. I was just kind of scared about it because it's a tough subject. It's a big topic. And, I call racism like the hot topic, an overused weapon of mass destruction, because, the way I look at it is that there's so many people pointing fingers at people, calling other people racist. What do you do when you're called a racist? Like if somebody called me a racist, like what am I to do? Now I've got to work that off because now I've been branded something that I don't think that I am. Maybe I am, but I don't think that I am. And so now I got to deal with that. So my thought is like, what about the real racist? Somebody that really is a racist, somebody that's really a bigot, somebody that's really oppressing somebody. If we're using this term just universally and just so easily, then it loses value, and that's what happens in language is that we use language, and if we're not using it appropriately, and if we don't use it powerfully, then it loses its power, it loses its strength. And what happens as the result of that is the stories the stories in our lives and the things that we want to have happen, how we connect, that just loses impact. It loses value because it's kind of like a boy who cried wolf. If we eventually keep pointing at somebody and keep accusing somebody of something, eventually that loses value. But that does not mean that racism and bias don't exist. It doesn't mean that, because they do exist. Now, I have been very, very fortunate, maybe stupid because maybe I just didn't see it happening to me, but I haven't been affected personally, at least to my knowledge, and maybe after this evening I may see it a different way. I haven't been affected by racism or bias. So when it comes to like me being able to, intelligently and articulately talk about that, I might not be the best guy. So what I decided to do is just bring on some of my friends, some people that I know, people that I love, people that I respect, people that have different opinions, literally coming from all different parts of the United States. So this is not, I live in San Diego, right by Pacific Beach. So, I've got my beach friends, right? But these are friends from all over the United States, Louisiana, DC, Chicago, Detroit, all different parts of the United States. So they're all going to have different ways of looking at different things, different biases possibly, and different ways of looking at racism. And certainly, I would imagine, defining racism. So what I'd like to do is to take a curious look at racism and bias and see if we can take that apart and see what it means, but not for the sake of just defining it, but for the sake of finding maybe a way to resolve issues, maybe a way to transform what's going on right now in our society, what's going on with our country and maybe the whole world. And maybe just out of curiosity, maybe we can make a difference in the world. So I'd like to bring on all my wonderful guests. How you guys doing? I got to unmute yourselves there.
How's it going?
How you guys doing?
Good evening.
Good. Hello.
I am absolutely honored and excited that all 5 of you guys are here. And I have so much respect and so much love for all you. Tiffany, I just met you, but I'm sure I will be in love with you in 5 minutes. So Thomas and Lauren and Ashton and Philip, I have so much respect and so much love for you guys. And every one of you, I've had deep conversations with about different things. And I don't know that I've ever had a conversation about racism or anything like that with Lauren, but I have with Phil quite a few times. Philip, I've had Ashton, you and I have kind of gone back and said some stuff and communicated, and Thomas, you encouraged me to do the show. So thank you very much. So without further ado, let's get going. And I'm going to have Tiffany introduce herself first. Then we're going to go Thomas, Lauren Michaels, Ashton, and Philip, and then let's jump in the show. So Tiffany, tell us where you're from and who you are and what do you do?
Great. Thank you, Martine. So my name is Tiffany Hauser. I live in Washington, D.C. currently. I am a transformational leadership coach, trainer, and facilitator. I specialize in DEI and workplace culture.
Yeah.
Muted.
I was muted. Sorry, Thomas, go ahead.
Martine, I'm sure you said Thomas, introduce yourself.
I sure did. Good lip reader.
Absolutely. My name is Thomas Mangum. I live in San Diego, and I am from the Virginia and the Maryland area. I'm a military transplant onto the West Coast, and in my daily life, I specialize in working with large, big brands, Fortune 100 companies, their senior leadership teams. Often it's about leadership development, diversity and inclusion. And so these are topics that we talk about, and I'm hyper aware of what I look like. And so it's talk about being curious. Listen, I'm the middle-aged white guy in the room that's so white that I'm pink. And I'm willing to be in this conversation because damn it, I still get to learn.
Yeah, we all do, don't we? Absolutely. Lauren.
Well, hey everybody, I'm Lauren Michaels Harris. I'm a message discovery coach primarily. I'm a speaker, and I stage a few events around the country every year. One of them is Power of We Symposium for inner city at-risk youth. And I have a show called Bathrobe Moments on the E360 television network, where I'm also an associate producer. So just so excited to be here with my good friend, Martine.
How you doing, brother?
And all the
Thank you
others,
for being
all the
here.
others. This is a great topic. I'm excited.
Ashton, tell us a little bit about you, my man.
I don't hear him.
Voice.
I'm not hearing you, Ashton.
Oh, your voice.
Hit a button. I'm going to have Tiffany go. And did we do Tiffany? No, we did Tiffany. Let's do Philip, and then we'll have Ashton come back.
Can
Philip,
you hear me?
I can hear you clearly, bro.
My name is Philip Simon, originally from a small town, Louisiana, called Lake Charles, but I live here in Carlsbad, California right now. Prior military, spent many years both. I've done military, both Air Force and the Army. Spent many years in the D.C. area, and I'm just happy to be here. This is an interesting subject, and I just can't wait to get into it.
Let's do it. Ashton, how you doing? You got that worked out?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you good, yeah.
Awesome. Hey, family. My name is Ashton Harvey. I'm the founder and co-founder of Yellow Threads Company and The Significant Edge. I'm a sales trainer by trade, so I work with sales professionals and first-time business owners just to help them get their first sales under their belt. I live in the San Diego area, so I live down. I used to live in UTC. Actually, I got a whole bunch of stuff that's not hung up yet, but we just moved this past Monday. So I now live in between the 15 and the 5 corridor on the 56 in San Diego, but still get to enjoy the beaches only 15 minutes away, which is super great.
Nice. I remember when you moved here. I was excited about that, Ashton, when you moved here. So let's jump into it. I said a couple things
from Minneapolis, yeah.
I remember that. So, one of the things I said is that, the whole conversation of racism, in a sense, is like a overused weapon of mass destruction, because we can use that against people. That's easily, we can point fingers at people. What's your thought about that? I mean, and I'm happy if you guys completely disagree, and anybody start talking.
I'm just curious, when you say a weapon of mass destruction, a weapon is usually a tool that somebody can use.
So I love talking to Phil.
Who is the weapon? Well, like who what's the gain from the weapon? Like if I have a weapon, and we all can use the weapon, I feel like then we all have the same power with that weapon. So, but I feel like you probably mean it from a different perspective. Am I correct?
Yeah, the perspective that I'm saying is that we use it. It's like we use our words. So I can call you I can call you a racist, right? And now you're labeled with it, and that's a destructive word to use. It's a destructive word to use, and the reason I say it's mass destructive because if there is someone that's a racist, and we're calling everybody a racist, then like what about the racist? The racist just blends in. Go ahead, Thomas.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
yeah. You know, it's interesting because as soon as you said that, I thought about some very specific examples, and these are the example of. I mean, I've heard these things over the past couple of months. It was like racist. Well, I'm not a. This is a white person talking. Like, you know, I'm not racist. You know, black people are racist. They say this to each other. They do this to each other, and then I noticed something. This weaponization recently with people that look like me, that is that superiority being right. And now I'm gonna tell you right now, I fell into that trap a couple of months ago because I had some friends and I'm like, man, that's so racist. Like, I mean, why are you doing that? And somebody that looked like me. And what came out of that conversation was me being superior and being right and making them wrong. That's weaponization. That does not make me right. It doesn't help anything.
Lauren.
Okay. Hey, well, I'm about to step from a different pond.
I love it. You always do, man.
Well, I'm just keeping it real because I listen.
Yeah.
I listen before I speak. And
Yeah.
Martine, when you said, it jumped at me when you said at the beginning, when you said, I'm probably not the best person to ask about it because I haven't been affected by it. I'm saying, how are you going to say that and you get 4 black friends on the screen with you? Of course you've been affected by it. Why you say that is because, and it's not in a negatory way.
No, I want to hear.
Racism isn't the weapon, the mass weapon. It's ignorance.
Sure.
It's what people don't understand. Ignorance is the mass destroyer, the weapon, also the great equalizer, depending on which side of the aisle that you're sitting on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just going to put that out there, and now let's keep it moving.
Okay, let's go with that then. I love that. That's really cool. Tiffany, you want to?
Yeah.
Well, because Martine, you know what I mean by that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, because you're a person of color.
Yeah.
So that was really that was a shock to me. I would have expected that from Thomas, but not another person of color. But I'm in there too, and I'm gonna talk about it when we get around to that. That's why I got her here.
Awesome.
I'm guilty of the same thing myself.
Yeah. Got it.
I'm gonna tell you why later.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Tiffany.
Yeah, Lauren, thank you for calling that forward because I felt the same. I'm like, how can we're all affected by this right now? Everyone, children, adults, we're all affected.
Amen.
And I would like to add that what I also feel is the weapon is power. People who are hungry for power. Part of my work is I study the patriarchy. And this whole thing is racism was a weapon to keep people separated and divided and keep people in fear. That if you didn't look a certain way, it was easy for your people to feel in fear or want to control other people. It's where race came from about 400 to 600, about 600 years ago. The actual concept of race was developed, and it was for power. Power, power, power. And all of us fell for it. Every single one of us. Every time we go to a service or fill out something and we check those boxes, we're falling for it again.
I just got to throw this out there. We're talking about race, but it probably would have helped to define race first.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Back up. Absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure we all can have different areas to come from without having a central thing to connect us to.
Let's start there.
Real quick, I'm just Googled racism, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is minority or marginalized. So grouping that into what I just said, for me, it makes it a little bit easier. Like, so now that I understand what race is, it makes it easy for me to define who can be a racist and who cannot be a racist. Because like you said, the ignorance part, when it comes down to that, I'm thinking, well, we don't know what this is. We don't know what the word is. We're arguing, like you said, using it like, well, we're taking the power away from it. So if everybody's calling everybody a racist, then what about the people who are really racist?
I'm gonna chime in real quick.
Yeah, jump in.
I feel like one of the biggest things that we're missing as a society overall, obviously, is the lack of communication. But bigger than that is the lack of empathy. And when people are unable to actually empathize for somebody else and what they've gone through, I feel like that's where most people want to just throw out like, well, then you're a racist because you don't understand where I came from, right? Yes. And I think when we have conversations like this, we're able to actually develop that empathy for somebody else, I mean, just think about, I mean, having empathy for someone who is who's blind, right? Because, you know, like, hey, what, you can't do that? How, like, you can't cross the street without help? Are you kidding me? What? You know what I mean? But ultimately, it's because they don't have the ability to see, right? And so if we're unable to empathize with the struggles that they're going through, that's where a lot of the problems kind of start to stem from. And, you know, if I were to narrow down everything down to one thing, it would probably be that one aspect of being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. That's just my thoughts.
So empathy for you is a great place to start, to be able to look and see what perspective you're having and where you're looking from. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. In essence, what I would say is, like, even from to prevent the whole, because I mean, saying that you're a racist is a very slippery slope, because where do we stop? You know, because at the end of the day, if you said that all Asian drivers are bad drivers, that's a racist comment. You know what I mean? And I don't know how many people have said that in their entire life. But I mean, just to, like, Martin, what you were saying in the beginning, it's a weapon of mass destruction, because it's such a slippery slope. You don't know how far this rabbit hole can go, you know, especially if you use the word, you're a racist, and it's just merely because you just don't understand where the other person's at.
And it goes,
go ahead, Lauren.
It goes back to what we were saying earlier, not just saying that you're a racist, but also understanding the word, because many of us are prejudiced. Every one of us on here has some kind of prejudice towards something.
And it's totally separate. And it's totally separate.
Exactly.
But here's the deal. Here's the deal from where I stand. And it's like this. You got to, just like you choose your battles, you have to also understand what you're battling. See, a lot of people call people racist.
Who you're what?
Your battle, what battle you're fighting.
Okay,
I don't fight people. I fight the thing that got their mindset where it's at. That's all kinds of things. That's generational curses. That's all kinds of stuff. And then it also allows me room to get the thing out of my own eye, because I have the same matching parallel situation, just from a different direction. You know, we call people racist when we should start calling action, or the lack thereof, racist. You call a comment, a statement, a viewpoint, a reference, an ideal, a mindset racist. Don't call the person racist, because it's the action.
It's the behavior. It's the behavior.
Exactly. Because it's the sponsoring thought. Where did you get that? Well, my grandfather. I got that. I got what I feel about my African heritage from my African heritage. So it's not your fault, Martine, that you don't know what this cloth means that I hold up, the story it tells, if I haven't shared it with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if I don't know what you've been through,
we don't need to.
Where's my point of reference, right? Where's my point of reference? And like Ashton's, you know, he says it's empathy. Like, okay, and I say curiosity. Well, I'd like to find out about you. Like, tell me about you.
Right.
You know, because you occur for me a particular way. You occur for me like a racist. Like, this is why, or whatever. You know, so you know, like, we say that to somebody, but why don't we find out?
Normal. That's like saying normal. Why do you do that? Because it's normal.
Yeah.
What's normal?
Yeah.
Who gets to say what normal is?
Absolutely.
So you can't say that's racist.
Yeah.
Say that sounds like a racist statement. That sounds like a racial slur.
But only to the person that hears it, right?
Huh?
But to the person that hears it.
It's not about what
it's
you
more
hear.
Than, it's I
Tiffany.
Yeah, Lauren, you just blew a different door open for me, and I appreciate you, Lauren. That it is not the people, the individual that is racist. It is the activity, the mindset behind it, and it goes back to what Phil really set us up for. What is race?
Yeah.
And white people, that's a race. Caucasian is a race. So it's not just something that white people can do. Yet, if you go back to the history of it, race was cultivated or developed to keep us separated, to know who was in and out of and Lauren, you're leaning in on that. It's institutional, it's cultural, it's not necessarily the individual, but we see it in the individual through the actions, through the unconscious and the conscious experience.
Exactly.
So that really
landed. Before the 1600s, you'll be hard pressed to find in academia or any book of antiquity where humans were going around calling themselves black men, white men, yellow men, red men.
You're
It's a
men.
creative concept. It's an abstract concept that doesn't really exist in the natural world, but we grab onto it as humans today and we play it out. But it really doesn't exist. And that intelligence piece that you were speaking of, Lauren, earlier, when you talk about racism and not knowing, I'm calling you a racist, and I should be calling that thing that has you believing what you believing is a racist. Because if you can't really affect my life, then you're not a racist. You're taking part in the system, and you might be prejudiced towards me, but you really don't have the power to be racist toward me because you can't keep me out of a bathroom, keep me out of a hotel or anything. So I guess it goes back to the understanding and the empathy part I like is because we always get focused here in America on the white-black perspective of racism, not knowing that, you go to China a long time ago, you had Europeans in China. It's different people that also experience different types of racism within their culture. Yes. And if you don't have the empathy within that, you're still going to be stuck no matter which way you go with it.
So so what's the act of racism? Like, what's another word to use for the act? Like you said a destroyer, like to destroy somebody or to oppress somebody. What's another?
Well, hold on. It can't just go down that road.
No, I can't.
No. I said it can't. It can't. You know why it can't? Because then it would exclude all of us from our own racism within our own races.
What do you mean?
I mean, for instance, right now, Tiffany, if we needed a Rosa Parks today, I wouldn't go to Angie Stone to sit on the bus. I'd bring the paper bag test to you because I need a Rosa Parks that looks like you. So if I am allowing my message to ride inside of a carriage built around what I'm fighting, how do we not get confused?
Colorism. That's what it sounds like you're talking about.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, so let's define it. So are we going to define it as color?
You either have to be all or not at all. And I think that has a lot to do with it. So you know what I'm saying there, Tiffany, right? Because of the color, and for those who don't know, with the paper bag test, Rosa Parks wasn't just Rosa Parks because she had all the check marks, all the boxes were checked. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Friends with the mayor's wife, she knew people in places, and she passed the paper bag test, just like Dorothy Dandridge did. Just like Halle Berry, did.
All right, so I'm lost.
From my understanding,
act like I'm a fifth grader. Hold on, Phil. All right, Lauren, I'm a fifth grader. Tell me what you said.
Phil's gonna school you right now. I can feel it.
From my understanding, there's a Rosa Parks before the Rosa Parks. So the Rosa Parks that we all know of, which is the lighter skinned
stand-in
Rosa Parks, she fit the blanks that he was saying. But before, there was a darker person who, more of the, I guess, a typical African features of phenotype, in the face and whatnot. That was the original Rosa Parks who said, I'm not getting up off the bus, I'm sitting in my seat. But even the so-called, quote, I guess, NAACP, ACLU today said, hey, we have a movement, but we want our movement to be defined by that color versus that color. And that's what he's talking about when he's saying individual racism. But to me, that could be coupled with prejudices as well, because we're more keen to a certain color versus.
And that's my point, Phil. That's my point. That within our own, there is the racism that lives outside of color.
Yes.
Okay, but there's also racism within our own colors. That's where in India they call it the caste system.
Yes.
Where just because of the darkness level, they're totally different people, and we have it.
Yeah, well, we have that in Mexico too. I mean, you can be a short little Mexican, kind of a little chunky little guy with dark skin, or you can be a tall Spaniard-looking guy, and if you look and see where the money is, the money's in the tall Spaniard-looking guys. I mean, that's just the way it is,
And it's the same with the white Caucasian race.
Exactly. It's in every continent like that.
There you go.
Trailer trash, the redneck. It exists within all cultures, all societies.
That's right. That's just like us being able to call each other the N-word. It's okay, Ashton and Phil, for us to be kicking in like, yeah, that's my nigga. We'll say it in a minute. Oh, nigga, please. I do it with my nephews all the time. Hey, what's up, nigga? Right. But let somebody else. So, I mean, to the person listening from the outside, from a curiosity standpoint, what should they think? How should they feel?
You want to know what I think is really interesting when it comes down to what I feel like I boil everything down to is when I grew up, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I'm half Filipino, half Black, right? So growing up, I associated primarily with my Filipino family. So but I felt so conflicted, right? When I would have to go and write in like Black or, what's your ethnicity? I felt so conflicted because of the mere fact that I'm like, well, I associate with all of my Filipino family, but if I were to go out into the world, someone would associate me as Black. You know what I mean? And that's the stereotype that they have. So growing up my entire life, because of the way that I speak, right? People would be like, "Oh, you're whitewashed." I wouldn't hear that just from white people. I would hear that from Black people. You know what I mean? And so for me, I think it's not even just about like, that person's a racist or that person's a racist, but like really, okay, this is all a game. Everything that we do is a game, right? Life is a game. And, you can look at your skin tone as a, this hindrance that's keeping me from achieving what I want. Or you can look at it and be like, what are the strengths that I have that will help me look better than that person? Because right now, yeah, the game is geared towards the white Caucasian male, but there are things that I have that will allow me to have a significant edge over somebody else that may be a white male, right? But we never want to look towards ourselves. We want to say, well, it's because of that person, I'm not there. It's because of them that I'm not where I want to be, versus thinking, hey, you know what, Ashton, you're very eloquent with your speak. How can you utilize this to your advantage? Or, just the mere fact that most of my friends who were Black would call me an Oreo. They're like, wow, you're not Black enough to hang out with us in essence, because I don't speak slang or anything like that, right? I wanted to better my speech because I knew that it was going to help me out. My mom was Filipino and she didn't know a word of English coming to America, and she knows 3 different languages, and she's the VP of a multi-billion-dollar company, right? And she knew how to play the game. She knew exactly what she needed to do, and I think that's what we're missing when we're teaching the Black community. How do we come up, right? Instead of pointing fingers, we need to say, hey, you know what, we need to get rid of the slang. Stop saying ums and ahs and whatever when you're talking to somebody.
Ashton, let me ask you something though.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a good one. I'm gonna give it to you. I almost rang my bell. Matter of fact, I'm gonna ring it. When you said speak slang, is that like a Rosetta Stone course where you can go and learn how to speak slang?
No, I wouldn't even say.
You said I don't speak slang. I don't speak slang either. But I know a few words.
I was about to actually.
I know a few words.
You know where I come from?
I grew up in the hood.
Yeah.
I know a few words, but we don't. They didn't teach us sit down. It's time for your slang speech. That's the kind of joke they made about slang in the movie Airplane.
Yeah.
When they had Leave It to Beaver's mama. Remember her sitting there talking about, hey, that bitch, that. I didn't. And everybody in the theater laughed. White, black, yellow, green, orange, purple, empty.
Yeah. It's great that you brought that up because of the mere fact that maybe I shouldn't have used the word slang, but in essence,
you can use slang, but nobody speaks it.
Yeah.
No, hold on. That's all right. So this is what we want to do then, okay? So then we want to do is define versus rather than attack him for using that. Hold on. What I'd like to do is define. Hold on.
That's not an attack.
Define. Hold on a second.
Hold on, Ashton. Do you feel attacked?
No, I was going to redefine
it. Let me tell you, Martin, for real. Teaching moment from a Black perspective. That's why you got us here. That's what you thought. That's why they call us angry Black men.
Yeah, exactly. Because that
not angry.
Okay.
Angry, but you don't get to say attack. If I'm attacked,
no.
Stop for a second. I'm almost
absolutely.
There.
We can say whatever we want.
Now,
we can say
this is an attack.
What is?
What I'm giving you.
What he said?
I don't feel attacked.
No, I'm saying because listen to what I'm saying. It's an attack in the sense of what most people call one. Because I'm straightening out something.
Yeah.
I got misconstrued. That isn't what was going on down there between Ashton and I.
So I'm going to ask him a question. Let me ask the question then.
Why do you feel that was an attack? That's what I want to know.
Okay, I'm not going to answer you right now, but I'm going to actually get to what I wanted to say to Ashton. Ashton, I'm real curious about what you meant by slang.
Yeah. So actually, I'm going to say slang in terms of when you talk to if you're a medical professional and you're talking to another medical professional, you use certain words. Exactly. When you're in the corporate realm and you're talking to another CIO, you use certain words. If you're talking to a CIO, you use certain words. When you're in an impoverished area, you use certain words, right? Like, and when you're in a well-off area, you use certain words. And
so you're defining language. So what you're doing is you're defining language, and language follows culture.
I wouldn't even say culture.
It's cultural jargon.
Yes.
Well, language also
Slang is
follows
cultural
culture.
jargon.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess you can. If you want to say, like, if you're a part of a CIO culture, then yeah, like you have to have a CIO language.
I'd love to chime in on this.
Tiffany, please.
Like huge, because Thomas and I, we were just talking about this yesterday. What I'm hearing, Ashton, and if you're open to what I'm about to share, I would love to share some feedback on what my experience is of what you're sharing. Are you open?
Yes, I am. Sorry, my internet's really bad. I am totally there.
What I'm hearing is conformity. That what you're championing is to conform, to fit in, rather than to be your authentic self. And that is what is destroying a lot of people's value, their worth, their esteem, and the culture that they come from, that they believe they must conform to win the game. Mm-hmm. Rather than being authentically themselves. And diversity, we know this through research, we know this through history. Diversity is how we thrive. If we were all the same, we all spoke the same, dressed the same, talked the same, we'd be nowhere. This world would be nowhere. It is why we have all arrived here in different packages. We're all the same, but we have arrived here in different packages for a reason. To celebrate and be authentically a example of the culture that we are within, not to conform to the CIO talk or the medical talk. So I just wanted to call that forward because I do work in the corporate space, and this is one of the things that keeps people quiet and feel excluded. They feel like their voice doesn't matter. They feel they have to speak and talk.
Let's let them respond, Tiffany. Let's let them respond.
Yeah, I was even going to say, I 100% agree with you with the mere fact that like diversity actually leads to innovation and progress within whatever industry you're in. I was even going to say, just to add onto the statement that I made, is we have to break into that space. You know what I mean? We need to figure out how to break into that space first. And the best way to do that is to show some sort of commonality. Does that make sense? In terms of the job that I have right now, right? As the senior sales trainer for a global sales development team. I did not come from the tech background, even though I'm with a tech company. I had to really prove myself on why I was going to be a good fit for them. Now, when I definitely did that, which was great, but I had to conform at least to their standards from the very get-go just to get the job. Now that I'm in the role, I'm making a massive impact because of the mere fact that I was, I'm saying, hey, listen, this is what we did in the medical realm. Let's try it out in the tech space and see how this works. So when I say like conform, I don't mean like completely give yourself up, forever and ever, as long as you're there. But what I'm saying, to get your foot in the door, you need to find a way to find commonality with the other person. That would mean the way that you speak or whatever. And then once you're in and you have the trust and you have that ability to now make some changes, then you can start bringing a little bit more of yourself and some of your background into the mix. Because I think that you're 100% right in the mere fact that who you are should not be hampered because of the mere fact that like you have to be somebody else. And so I wanted to add on to that because I 100% agree with you, Tiffany, when you brought that up. And I just wanted to at least clarify or have a chance to clarify.
Yeah. And so couldn't all those things exist? Couldn't everything that Lauren said exist, and everything that Ashton says exist, and everything that Tiffany says exist? I mean, if what we're talking about is diversity, couldn't diversity mean, hey, I want to change, I want to speak this way because the way I see things from my perspective is to talk this particular way and learn this language, and say, the books I've read, the things I was taught in high school, they didn't really teach me what I needed to learn, so I need to go learn something else. I mean, don't we have isn't diversity all those different versions of coming together?
That does exist. That does exist. It exists.
Yeah.
Sure. But there's also tainted diversity.
Well, okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Tainted diversity is stuff that we're fed.
Yes.
That's why
exactly
Aunt
what I'm saying,
Jemima, that's why Aunt Jemima pancakes just changed what they just changed.
Yep.
Because it was going to hit them in their pocket. And nobody had a problem with it. We were all eating it up. I got 3 different things: grits, pancake mix, and syrup in my own pantry, not 2 feet from where I sit.
Yeah.
Even when I heard what they were doing. Did
It's
I
like
get up and pour my stuffs in the trash? No, I did not. So who really made a better move, and who still needs or has work to do? I think it works in a 2-way feed.
All of us do. Yeah, all of us do.
All of us
Absolutely.
do. All of us do. You don't know, and then
You
we
don't
don't give
know what you
ourselves
don't
enough
know.
credit for the things we do know.
I mean,
So
I mean,
if we take
I mean,
if we take the,
a
you know,
thing
what you
of,
said about Aunt Jemima,
go ahead,
if we take that and then we go back, 40 or 50 years and we talk about our parents or grandparents and the stuff that they said, which is absolutely wouldn't even fit in today's world, right? So if my grandmother said,
Time out. Hold on 1 second. I can speak to this because I'm going to tell you why.
okay.
I can pull up the pictures. 2 years ago, I went to a party with over 300 people at it. I was the only black man in the room. Halloween party. Guess who I went as? Aunt Jemima. I didn't just go as Aunt Jemima. I had real cotton buds all in my hair, the earrings, a necklace. I had a basket with a frying pan and all her goods in there. I walked in, I said, get out of my way, get all these skinny white bitches out of the kitchen. I'm getting ready to cook. I can't stand a skinny white bitch. I went in, I had a chain, 6 feet of chain dragging from my right ankle. And I took a picture in a frame to the host and the hostess, signed from Aunt Jemima, that showed her holding her book called Slave in a Box. Nobody knew that they made millions of dollars on a book called Slave in a Box. So I took that, and you know what? The $500 prize. Guess who you think won that night? I did. You know why I won? I won because of a thing called conscience, guilt, shame. Seriously. And so what I'm saying is, we have to look at everything from top to bottom, bottom to top, side to side, side to side, corner to corner, and corner to corner, whether it's coming from your side of the aisle or someone else's. Because the thing about it is, I cannot do anything about what other people do or don't do. I can only make an impact with my own actions or the lack thereof. That's it. If we just keep talking about who's pointing and who's wrong, another generation will go by, another 100 years, another 100 years, another 100 years. When we watch things like Queen Sugar, when we watch that right now, we go, that's George Floyd. That's da-da-da-da. That's Breonna Taylor. And I have Breonna Taylor on the screen because, until I watched her on Hulu last week, I didn't even know the story. She was on Vanity Fair and O Magazine before I even knew her story. And I'm a black man. I ought to be ashamed of myself.
I think part of the problem, and nobody might agree with me, I usually stand alone on this, is the fact that we're calling ourselves colors. And I talk to Martin about this all the time. I have a pet peeve. I'm not a black man. I really am not. If you look at my skin, I'm from Louisiana. I'm brown. I got cousins as dark as midnight. I got cousins that look like Thomas. First cousins that look just like Thomas. I'm across the spectrum. I'm doing some genealogy research earlier this summer, and I'm going back and I'm looking back, and I'm free people of color in Louisiana. That goes back to 1800s to 1700s, and I'm studying my genealogy. Made me realize that we're all talking about color when your great grandparent, 16 of them, 15 of them,
yeah,
could be another color, and you can have a Japanese. You can have and you can come out looking like you look, but because you look like what they say is supposed to be a certain thing. Really, you could be 3, 4, 5 different things, but nobody's really talking about that. And we're sitting here calling ourselves, well, I'm a white man. Well, you're not. I went to a public school, so it ain't all the best, whatever. But at the end of the day, they taught us colors. I know what this is, a black T-shirt. None of the so-called black people on here is the color of this T-shirt. You have a white shirt on, look like. He's not the color of your shirt, but yet still we're calling him a white man. I know my colors. I know who the guy, who the German scientist who actually created all these boxes that we're in today, and I think once we educate ourselves a little bit more in terms of, the history of color, racism, And, you know, and I get it. There are a group of people that went through some bad things in the United States. But I guarantee you, you'll find on the planet Earth, there's a group of people who went through a lot of bad things across the planet. If you know, it just not just our people, it's a bunch of different people. But and we're in America, so we got to focus on American problems, and you know, black-white is a problem. But the fact that we keep calling it a black-white problem, I feel like it'll be 2030 before we finally get anything on.
2030, at 100 years. Look, the great, you know, this thing, the pandemic is a great equalizer. It is one of the greatest times right now to be alive in the history of humankind. I'm telling you why. You know, think about it. Human race. We all are, every single human on this planet know about COVID. Knows about, they all was running for toilet paper, hand sanitizer, mask, and gloves. All of us. Martin and I were on a show just Monday night from a friend of ours that died within 30 days from COVID. Now, I don't know about you, but I haven't run across an animal in the animal world yet that made me think they were prejudiced against the human race.
Exactly.
I haven't run into a UFO or an alien that said I'm here because I'm prejudiced against the human race. But see, we just skip right over the thing that connects us all and focus on all the things that are different, when really those are the things that make it wonderful.
All right, so let's do that. We got 19 minutes.
Lauren, ring the bell for
19 minutes and 45 seconds. Ring the bell, baby. So let's talk about the things that connect us.
Okay.
Let's talk about the solution. Let's create a solution. I don't have a solution.
Education. Education is always the
Let's
solution.
talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about that. How do we get education in?
Well, that's a whole nother topic. But I mean, you know, how we get the education. But I believe education, though, is, I mean, informing everybody, just learning, you know, learning history, not just American history, but learning, you know, step outside, learn other cultures' history. Like we were talking earlier about, you know, the lighter versus the darker. People think that's just an American issue, but in every continent, when I was doing my studies, and I've learned that there were dark-skinned Chinese people, and I'm like, this guy looks like he could be my uncle, but he's from China, and then to find out that's the same thing. When I was deployed in Iraq, I met a guy who we was on our way into the city, and he was just staring at me. He was our interpreter. He was just staring at me, and I'm like, you know, why are you looking at me? He was like, you know, you look like you could be one of my cousins. And this is an Iraqi from Basra, southern Iraq province, and the Basra province. And I'm like, your cousins? I'm like, you're an Iraqi dude. What are you talking about? I'm African American from Louisiana. He was like, wait till he showed me his people, and I'm blown away. Like, I thought don't matter what I thought now, you know. So, you know, and I realized that across the globe, across the spectrum, rather. And I think education, if we can learn to get that,
it seems like that's kind of awareness too. Like we become aware of something. You know, I remember in the Malcolm X movie when he went to he went to Mecca, and he's like, oh my God, like my brothers are all white. They're all different color skins. He thought everybody was, you know, where he was from. You know, and that seems to be what you're saying. And to me, it's like I think about times where I go to Mexico, you know, when I was a kid, and I would go to a Chinese restaurant in Mexico, and there'd be, you know, Chinese running a restaurant in Mexico, and everybody was speaking way better Spanish than I've ever spoken in my whole life. And I'm like, oh, what's this? You know, it just blew me away, you know? And then when I went to New York, and then you had like Dominicans talking Spanish, it's like, well, it just, because Lauren, this is the point, is I grew up in a culture that the reason I say I don't experience racism is because I kept myself in a culture that I didn't have to. I kept myself protected. I kept myself isolated. So, you know, you're saying, well, you have black friends and they experience it. Well, maybe selfishly, I didn't want to experience it, so I kept myself away from it.
But there's always the unknowns, because you could have been denied a job.
Yeah.
Right.
You could have been denied something that you didn't know.
Right.
That the person who denied it because they looked at you and said, oh, you was Mexican.
That's right. You had lunch somewhere. You had lunch somewhere with a black friend, and driving by was a white friend that saw you having lunch with a black friend and never even thought you were capable of that. You never got a phone call again. Whatever happened to good old Mike Johnson? He saw you having lunch with a black friend.
Okay.
Now I want to say this, and I'm going to shut my mouth for the rest of the time.
So let me. Can you hold it for a second? So,
Very second.
Okay, just
Go ahead.
7 seconds. I love you, brother. I can't. I'm going to be on your show on Thursday.
I know. You're gonna pay me back for every minute of this. That's why I'm getting it in.
I lost my thought. Go ahead, talk. Go and say your
I
thing.
just want to say this. When you gave your analogy of Mecca and all that, he didn't go there and just stand there and go, oh, look at my white brothers. You say education, that's true. But everything any of us could throw out, a plethora of ideals. None of them can come because we have a sponsoring thought, which then becomes an utterance.
Say
And
that
then the
again.
utterance,
I didn't
you have a
understand that.
sponsoring thought first, either of love or of fear. And that's the seed. It grows the plant that bears the fruit. So you have the thought that creates the word that provokes the action.
Yes.
So destruction, racism is destruction based on talk. Construction, improving, is based on talk. And what is talk? It's a conversation. Literally, the definition is a conversation, a talk between two or more people. That's what we need.
Construction.
To get to anything, you must have the conversation and be willing to agree to not disagree, but still say, no matter what, we come back here and we duke it out with words, with thoughts, with ideals, with
With respect.
like that, with inspiration. Inspiration is not the same as motivation. Motivation is reminding people of things they've always known. If I were to say to all of you, you can lead a man to water, but you cannot make him drink. But if I were to say, when you heard me say earlier, from top to bottom, bottom to top, side to side, side to side, corner to corner, corner to corner, you couldn't say nothing but, I never thought of it like that before. That is inspiration. Something people have never heard quite like that. That's what happens when you have constant conversation. Don't go home and talk about what somebody could have done. Tell them. Who can make the change if you don't tell the person who you want to see? That's why I love, my favorite quote is, be the change you want to see in the world.
Michael Jackson, start with the person in the mirror.
There you go. Because you know what?
Let's talk about that. That's beautiful. Talk about you, who you are in the mirror. Who's in the mirror?
I'm done. I swear to God. I close my show every morning. I tell people, I don't care if you pick up a bell.
You've never done.
If you get a spoon and flip it over, find a dirty window or a mirror, but look at yourself and remember, you are a blessing. Because if you don't see a blessing, you will never go out that door and be a blessing. So it starts with you. You're right, Phil. The man and the woman in the mirror. See the blessing you are, now go out and be the blessing. If we all did that just once a day.
Real quick, Martin, just bring it back home to the idea of racism. I always wanted to know, they say, like, do anybody believe that one group or one person is bigger or more than another person? And I don't find too many people who do. Even people who want to, I hate the color game, but if you want to call yourself white, even those people, not too many of them say, we're all better than nobody's that bold, really. I find that comes out and say, hey, yeah, we're better than all of you guys. You guys suck. We're better because of this and such. Nobody says that. Everybody recognizes we got a group of people that's really talented, really strong in these areas. And we got a group of people who will mess us. And they're probably the scum of the earth in this area. But at the end of the day, if nobody is bigger or smaller than anybody else, then we're all equal. We're all humans.
So thank you. That's awesome. And it deserves a little ring. So
yeah, dude.
What I hear Tiffany saying earlier when she's saying something to the effect of, like, speak your voice and be who you are. Ultimately, it's that. Ultimately, it's we just be who we are. And then we give other people permission to be themselves. We don't need to intrude on people's beingness or like, what does our opinion have to do with somebody? I mean, like, it has nothing to do with. The thing that has anything to do with is love. That's the thing.
Yeah, but the issue, Martine, is a lot of our opinion is rooted in our belief system. And
I understand that. We're talking about construction. We're talking about destruction. Tiffany, we're talking about construction. We already talked about that. So now we're talking about construction, not destruction. So I'm going to ask you to talk about construction. So how do we what we already talked about? What doesn't work.
I want to ask comments.
What does work? No, I want for Tiffany. What does work?
In my experience, it's courage and being willing to be unlovable.
Love you.
Being willing to be unlovable?
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
That is lovable. But standing in the fire and being willing to be uncomfortable. No one is comfortable talking about this. Even if you got a lot to say and a lot to offer, no one is comfortable, because the reality is we don't understand it. That's why it's still a divide. That's why.
Tiffany, can I just say this?
Yes.
Seriously, girl, I'm telling you how I feel. I'm 58, so I got more life behind me than in front of me. So I don't even play with it. You see what I'm saying? I don't even play with it no more, because I go at any moment. Seriously, I just can't tell you how I feel about it. I'm gonna tell you something. I don't care how I choose what I open my mouth about, and nobody, I will not be moved. Truth. If it's the truth, as I know it, it's the only thing in the universe that never changes. A billion years from now, the truth will still be the truth. No matter what somebody tries to do, you can't bend it. It ain't a little white lie. The truth will always be the truth and never change, and it will never change on you. Friends, hemlines, hairstyles gonna come and go. But truth gonna be right where you left it.
And the bigger piece for the way I experience all this is we each have our own truth. And that goes back to
That's it. And we have to appreciate each other.
Yeah. And really the construction piece also is letting go of being right and letting go of making other people wrong.
Thank you.
Let's just let that stuff go and understand, ask questions, evoke the commonality and evoke it rather than trying to be it. Don't be common. Evoke it. Like what is it that allows the middle ground? What is that about all of us that's in the middle, rather than assuming what the middle ground is? And so letting go of the righteousness, and really a big part of our work within my company is about acceptance and unity. And it's truly about just like, tell me more. I want to understand. And as much as like a former version of me, my blood boils over certain things. I'm like, I'd rather be free than be right. I'd rather be some sort of form of harmony than be right about something. So that's
Thank you
for construction.
Beautiful. Thank you for shifting. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Can I ask Thomas something real quick?
Anything.
Thomas, I'm serious. I love you, man. You did this one. You told me, you took me completely out. So why are you here? What did you think? What did you think when you said, "Oh, I'm gonna be on there"? I know you looked at the flyer. Spanish,
yeah, you know what? I love that. Hold on, Thomas. I'm gonna ask you not to answer that question. We can go off, and the reason why is because we only have about 8 minutes, and I want to talk about construction. So I want to talk about results of not what happened last week, but what are we going to do moving forward? Unless that answers that question.
No, I'm a black man that's on a panel with a white guy, and he's the only one here. I am not leaving this show without hearing from him.
Watch this.
Or he's going to be on my show with you from Thursday.
That'd be great. I'd love to have him. Thomas, you and I on the show.
You pick. You brought him here. I want to know why he's here, Martine.
I got it.
Because I'm going to learn from him. I can't bear all the responsibility. I want to know what I can do better. I'm not saying it's just him and he's white. I'm black. Thomas, I want to know what I can do to make it easier or make the conversation easier to have with someone like you.
That's a good point.
That's a whole different question you asked, okay? That's a different question.
I care about what hour I gave up from the night. It's 10 o'clock here in Chicago.
I got it.
I want to be a better person tomorrow. I'm looking for the ER on the 15th of September.
Good. That's
what's going to make me better?
That's construction.
Wiser. And Thomas has got something to give. I feel it, and I got to have it.
I got it. So
Mark, you said construction. I'm just curious because you want to build, you want to construct, but I'd hate to be devil's advocate, but honestly, like even if we got everything we got from this conversation, and we went to the four corners of the earth, and we just spread our information, I still feel like there's a bigger mechanism that we don't change, that we can't change, a power structure, a power system that no matter how much I feel. Even Thomas, even if he agrees 100% of everything that we're saying is like, you know what, you guys are right, and everything I ever thought was wrong. But how does that change the bigger structure system that really guides pretty much everything that we're going through?
I think it's because of what we were saying a minute ago. It's like, are we trying to change the building, or are we trying to change ourselves? Like, I'm just saying, if construction is okay, let me start all over. Let me answer that question differently again. Let me start all over. Okay. So what people that watch the show say is, I learned something from Phil. I learned something from Lauren. And that's what they listen to. They listen to those little things that you guys say, those little bites of wisdom. And then they put those into their own head, into their own being, and they move forward with those. Okay. We have enough, we can't solve all the problems, but I'm saying,
please raise your hand.
We can talk in construction, which gives people thoughts and gives people ideas. And if we're being curious about those thoughts and those ideas, and we go, wow, hey, maybe I'll take that one on. That's a really good one. I'll take that one on. And that's the idea of curiosity, is just keep people curious. And we have 6 people here that have different versions of wisdom. And we can ask one question, and we're going to have 6 different answers, and maybe not a single person even answers the one question we ask. But people watching get some value out of 1 or 2 of us. And if we can do that, then maybe we can make change in the world. But we could start with ourselves and then maybe hand it off to somebody else. And that's the point. That's why I say construction. Yeah, we can go deconstruct things forever. We can deconstruct. We can talk about all the bad things that have happened. Or we've got 5 more minutes and we can just give some goodness so that people walk away with something like that. And I'm not saying that we didn't give goodness.
Oh, please, Thomas, say something, Lord Jesus, please.
Martine is going to hit me.
Not at all.
Martine, I'm going to kind of wrap it up. So I like that you went there. You were saying that the listeners get to learn from each of us in a little bit different way. And I've been mostly quiet here. What do you think that they're learning when people look at me? What do you think that they're learning on this?
Are you asking me a question?
Yeah.
What happens is, so I'm a musician. So I played sax for my whole life. And I had some really, really great performances. And what happened after those really great performances is I didn't know what happened. Like people said, dude, you rocked the house. And I'm like,
then I'm going to help you out.
Really? I didn't know, because I'm in the moment right now. I'm not trying to force an agenda. What I do is I know is that Lauren is a freaking rock star. Ashton is a rock star. Phil is a rock star. Tiffany is, and so are you, Thomas. And I know that people send me comments and they say, Martine, what you did changed my life. My daughter was depressed, and she's no longer depressed because she watches your show. And Lauren, I remember when Lauren was on the show a couple times before, people would say, God, that Lauren Harris, I mean, everything he says is amazing. So, but somebody else might think he's a complete jerk, but that happens to everybody, So what the whole idea of this whole thing
Clearly, my family's been watching your show.
May I support you, Martine, with the answer to that?
The thing is, yeah, please.
So I asked you the question, and I love that you said that. And what I'm hearing is that I'm in the moment right now, and it's just creating itself. Yeah. And that's where I get to acknowledge you. I mean, we get to wrap with that, because this is exactly what I envisioned. I had a vision for this. Remember, how many times did we talk about having this friggin' episode?
Probably 20 times.
And you were resistant. And it was an invitation at me enrolling you in having this conversation.
Yeah.
Why do I want to be here? It wasn't to run my friggin' mouth. It was to shut the F up. It was to listen, because Tiffany knows I can hold my own. I can run my mouth. The thing is, though, this is the time, and this is just something I'm noticing, is I'm learning more than I ever have when I am listening. And I mean genuinely listening and being empathetic and being compassionate. You were asking, how do we construct? How do we move this forward? Well, first off is shut up. I mean, that's what I'm doing. Or people that ask me of like, I don't know what to do. They are angry. And I'm like, oh my God, who the hell are they? I mean, and it's like take a breath. It's like, take a breath, be empathetic and compassionate, and acknowledge someone's friggin' reality. You don't have to agree with it. It's just like you don't have to agree with my reality. But how about we stop for a moment and acknowledge that this is Tiffany's reality, Martine's reality, and listen. I may disagree. I may not understand what you're saying, but I damn well get to acknowledge you as a human being on this planet. That you're having a different experience than me. How am I ever going to learn if I keep trying to be right? And I'm kind of tying a lot of the themes that we talked about tonight because, and I want to wrap on a geeky note with me, Phil, is that you are not the only one. Because as Tiffany knows, I am a geek. I'm a space geek, a Star Trek geek. And I think, you know what, is it going to take aliens invading our planet for the Earth to come together and go, so we can focus on somebody else? I mean,
another common enemy, right?
I mean, geez.
See, what I love is the answer to your question is Thomas, is that what you said, what Lauren said, what Ashton said, what Tiffany said, what Phil said, even what I said, might not have even been, I've been answering the same question, but I believe that there's value in what everybody said. There's value in how Lauren approaches his passion, all that. You know, there's value in Phil, how he brings something. There's value in how Tiffany brings something. And what I hope for the curiosity theory is that we're just an idea that people can look and say, you know what, I can just do what they did and have a conversation where I can listen. I can just listen.
You're courageous, Martine. You brought us together, and that is incredibly courageous. It's being part of the conversation versus tiptoeing and dancing around it or pretending or putting on some show. You brought some people that had some opinion. You brought us, and the thing is, you might think that it's like, oh my gosh, I have to facilitate this and control it. What if it's allow it to unfold? What if that's your magic power, is you brought us together and it unfolds how it gets to unfold. Things are messy sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was messy, but it's like we get to be messy together and enjoy it and learn.
Absolutely. So I thank you, Thomas. So Lauren, the reason that this whole show is happening is because Thomas kept asking me to do it. And a lot of other people asked me to do it. And I was scared to do it. Not scared because I wanted to be able to respect the people that I know, myself of color and other people of color, like to respect that, to because I have so much respect for it. Like Phil and I were talking this morning, and you said we were talking about Black Lives Matter, right? Remember that what you said, and so I said, like I don't put it on my wall. Like, why? And Phil, what did you say, Philip?
Stating the obvious.
It's the obvious for me. But that doesn't make what I'm doing right. It doesn't make me right because I'm not writing it on my wall. Because for me, it's obvious. But it doesn't mean that it communicates over to the other side. Like Lauren, the picture that Lauren has behind him, there's a reason for that. For me, if I had to make up something, I would make up something that was obvious for me. But the only way to find out why that's there is to ask Lauren, because it's there for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it wasn't the obvious reason.
And so what I say in the curiosity theory is 90%, upwards of 90% of the thoughts we have about why somebody did something or does something, we're wrong. We're just flat out wrong about what motivates other people.
But Martine, I just want to say this in conclusion. You hit it on the head when you said, it went right back to, and everybody here has probably read the 4 agreements. If not, you really should.
Yeah.
2 sponsoring thoughts, either one of love or one of fear. It all came back at the end of the day to that. That's the same reason people don't have the conversation. That's the same reason. For some reason, people think it's easier to call a person something than an action or a thought or a mindset, which can be traced back to an origin. People are afraid to go back to the proverbial scene of the crime. You have to have courage to look over your shoulder to the life before you.
Indeed.
Period. And it's not for everybody.
I'm getting one of those.
I tell people like this. I said, if you're afraid of change, if changing the world bothers you, than stick to something easy like underwear and leave people to the rest of us.
Watch the Kardashians. See, I got a bass guitar, but I can't pluck it. It doesn't make the
It's
same
the truth.
sound.
Because this is not an easy thing. You got to be last man out. You got to be, like you said, Tiffany, you got to be willing to be uncomfortable, to have on an itchy wool sweater.
100%.
That's wet and
Yeah.
heavy.
Yes.
That's what it requires. It's not a shared custody agreement. You can't
It's not
get
a-
up and
it's
drop
not a
down
clean
at your
line.
own convenience.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, we want it to be clean and in the lines and crystal clear. And,
right.
you know, you can't riot. You got to protest like this. Give me a break. Change comes from chaos and mess. I mean, hey, I wish it was smooth too, but when I look back, I've just never seen change happen like
Never
this.
gonna be. Never gonna be. So
Nothing that
I
matters.
love this panel. I just want to say, I don't know where you got your little golden Rolodex, but I want to order me one. Because I'm telling you what, Ashton, you have a strong silence presence about you. I want to get to know you better. Phil, you got all kinds of stuff inside your storehouses. And Tiffany, my goodness, if Barack hadn't met Michelle and you were 20 years older, we could have seen you in the Oval Office.
I'm close to Barack's age.
Oh, well, it was just one turn of the wrong corner in Chicago, I guess, for you. But I'm just saying, and Martine, I say bravo to you for finding the courage to do something outside of your wheelhouse.
100%.
That's the example we need to see. And Thomas, I'm glad you answered the question about why you sat there with your mouth shut. It gave us something that none of us, the rest of us, could bring. And that makes this a perfect night. I'm glad to be a part of it. It's an honor. Thank you all.
Appreciate having me here.
Yep.
Thanks for inviting me, Martin.
Did we just wrap you? Is your mic off? You want Lauren to? That was just a wrap, or what?
You do it, Thomas. I love your voice.
No, you're muted. It just says you're muted. Yeah, and I just wanted to thank each and every one of you just for having the courage to show up and, you know, rumble.
Courage.
Oh, we're not even going to we're not hopping on beforehand. We're just going to dive in. And that's exactly what gets to happen. As you're standing in line at the grocery store, as, you know, you hear something that's inspiring or, you know, that kind of triggers you, you get to jump in and cause, you know, even inspiring stuff. People are uncomfortable to tell somebody, wow, that was really inspiring, or wow, just like the shift that you provided tonight, Lauren. And what if we look at racism as an action rather than an identifier? As like, I am.
Wonderful.
Rather than it was the action. And that, I mean, I work with companies on this, like very big companies. And this is like, new way to look at it. So I appreciate it.
Aww. I love you, Tiffany. I want to adopt you.
Awesome, guys. So let's wrap it up.
This is really wonderful. Thank you all.
Martine, well, what about Martine's next topics? Man, equality issues, trans lives.
Oh, yeah.
Let's unpack
there
this.
too. I just love what you do, Martine. I love it.
Thank you. I love all
you know
guys.
why? You know why I love the Curiosity Theory? I was just telling somebody today at another network. I promise you I was. Somebody told me a long time ago, an evangelist, a white guy. He said, I look for everything in my life to have a question mark, because that is proof that God is in it. Proof that I need something greater than myself, because why do I want something I've already mastered? I know all the answers to. So if I don't see a question mark in something, I go the opposite direction. So that's why I love your show and will show up every time you ask me to.
Thank you. You will be here many more times. Please.
Hey, Martine, can I say something real quick? Hey, everybody. So I think we all have different mentalities when it comes to everything, right? The way that I process things is through science, math, and just like, you know, that's the way that I process things. So I may not be speaking to maybe you guys, but I might be speaking to somebody who processes that way. For me, I whenever I talk about these types of things, it always comes down to our like primordial brain, right? Like our reptilian brain, that literally when we were growing up, you know, through thousands and thousands of years ago, and we heard a rustle in the brushes, right? We had two options. We either thought, one, that's a lion, or two, I gotta, like I can stay here and figure out what the heck that is.
I took off. I was the guy that
Because
ran.
of that, right. Most of us would, right? I don't know what that is. You look into a dark tunnel and you have that instant sense of fear because you don't know what's on the other side of that tunnel. And so, speaking to that idea, right? The reason why it's so uncomfortable is because we don't know what's going to happen on the other side of this, like what's going to happen on the other side of this conversation. And one of the things that I've found with myself when I'm having these tough conversations is that we have an end goal. Our end goal is to find, the truth behind, is racism a word of destruction, right? Is what Trump said really a racist comment? Is what, Biden said, delusional? You know what I mean? And so we have an end goal to try to find the truth in whatever we're going to have, like why we're having the conversation. Because I think that it's good to have the conversation, but there should be always an end goal. And the end goal is whatever it is that you set for that other person. Because when you understand where you're going, it's a lot easier to have that conversation versus not knowing where it could go. I can possibly lose a friendship. I can possibly lose Martin as a friend because of the conversation.
Ashton, you hit it on the head because you want to have the conversation, but you want to make sure you're prepared to have the conversation.
Yeah, be careful what you ask for, right?
Right.
Be real careful what you ask for.
Mm-hmm.
Let's wrap up, guys. So let's start with Phil. Phil, tell us about what you're up to in life. What often happens as a result of the show is that people want to connect with you. They want to get to know you. If you guys have a service, people want to connect with that service and take advantage of that service. So let's start with Phil. Are you up to anything that, what are you up to, my man?
It's crazy. I'm into data science real quick. So after I got out the military, I just jumped into a whole bunch of things like yourself. I love math. I'm a critical thinker. I study. I'm big into the sciences. So right now I'm working on an algorithm, and I'm trying to turn myself into a quant, if you will. And I'm doing it the poor man's way. And for right now, so I'm just dealing with day trading, learning data science and AI, big tech, stuff like that. Things of that stuff right now.
Anytime I talk to Phil, I go, okay, how about for a fifth grader? What did you just say? And he tells me the fifth grade version, and then we're happy. Hey, Philip, thank you for being here.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Ashton, my man. Well, before Ashton, I want to acknowledge you for your courage and for what you're doing for people. And I see what you're up to. And the courage it takes for you to post what you post and stay deep in the kind of conversations that you stay in. And I just acknowledge you for that. And that's why I wanted you here.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Martin. I really do appreciate it. It's tough, man. It's tiring having those conversations, especially on Facebook and social media, like responding to people. Yeah. But I appreciate you for acknowledging that. I think some of you guys know, most of your audience knows, I work with sales professionals and business owners. But I don't even want to talk about that. If you want to connect with me, obviously feel free to email me at ashtonharvey026@gmail.com. That's my personal email. Feel free to reach out, and I'd love to connect with people, or look for me on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. I'd love to connect with you guys and gals. And for me, if I were to guide people somewhere, I think, Martin, I started a company alongside my wife called Yellow Threads Company, and we make and manufacture clothing for cancer patients. And who are going through chemotherapy and infusion treatment. And so we just started a new line, and we'd love support in that and bringing people to that. It's called the Inspire line. So you buy a t-shirt, just a normal t-shirt that says inspiring hope and confidence every day, Yellow Threads Company, and we actually donate an infusion shirt to a cancer patient. Last year we were able to give away 100 shirts. This year we're looking to hit 600. So if we could impact 600 people's lives, then that's why I'm here, and I think that's why we're all here, just on a greater scale. So that's where I would really hope to see people. So go to www.yellowthreadsco.com and look for our Inspire line. So thank you.
Will you go back and go back to the beginning of the show and then put your URL? Would you do that afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And one of the things, are you looking for people to support, like people to donate? And is that something you guys are looking for?
I mean, if you want, I mean, we do have a donate option. So the donate one option as well. So you can just donate a shirt. You know, it's we manufacture everything here in the United States, so it's, you know, a little bit more on the expensive side. But you know, like I said, it's such a great. The reason why we went down that route is when we gave away 100 shirts. You know, we started getting videos of all these, you know, women that were going through chemotherapy who just loved the shirts, and it really did help out because I think, you know, when you know, your world is rocked, right? When you hear the statement, you have cancer.
Yeah, everybody's world is rocked.
Yeah, it changes your world forever. And for us, we know the power of psychology and health. And if you can just look good during treatment and have something that you would normally wear, you know, why not? You know, feel confident, feel good in what you're wearing. Go to your dinner appointment after chemotherapy. Don't stop your life because you have cancer. So yeah, 100%. If you want to donate, you know, we'd love that. If you want to get a shirt along with it, then, you know, buy one of the Inspire lines. But 100%, that's where, you know, that's where our focus is this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Lauren, I love you. For the first time ever, and I remember exactly where I was standing when I heard you talk the first time, and I didn't get to know you that time, but I heard your story. And
Is that in person?
I had to walk out of, huh?
Is that in person?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I actually had to walk out of the room because I started to cry when you said your story. I just had to, like, it was just so moving. And there are very few people that are as real in this world as you are. Like when Tiffany says, you're like, just be who you are. I mean, brother, you just be who the hell you are, and I love it, and I'm grateful, and I admire you, and you are one of my avatars of because I like to be that.
Thank you, man. And you know, I say the same thing about you. Believe it or not, they're very. You see, I don't know how many shows you see me on, and you know, very picky about that. But when you call, I come because I always meet people that I didn't know existed. I've always loved that. You know, when you go to those speaker dinners and stuff, it's like they're all these name drivers. You know, I was with so and so. Looks like who? And they're like, you know, nope. I don't have time. I'm not a stargazer. I'm a trailblazer. I ain't got time to. I ain't nobody's fan base. You see what I'm saying? But I am yours. I'll admit it. And so I guess I'm getting my stuff out. And I just want to say, like Tiffany, Ashton, Phil, all y'all. You know, I look at you all as the future. So I mean, people that work with me, young people that work with me through the network or through my events that I stick on my stages all over the place. I always look at you all. I call you nieces and nephews, because I tell you what, if I'd have had a person like you at your age when I was a little one in the foster home, being shuffled between 22 homes, between the ages of 7 and 19 years old, I probably could have gotten to where I am today a lot faster, probably decades earlier. I'm 58, and I've only been doing this for less than 4 years. And so I want to say, you know, from somebody who was actually homeless 5 years ago, fresh out of penitentiary experience, fresh out of a 14-year drug addiction. And it took one day when the snow globe of my life was shaken in a way like none other. Instead of staring at all the glittery things that were law of gravity was bringing down in front of me, I decided to stare someplace I hadn't looked before. And I looked up at the top of my snow globe. And that was the day I saw my creator staring dead back at me. It took one time, and my life hasn't been the same since. And so I look at you all, and I love, and I can see inside of all of you what you have is just growing. Your sponsoring thoughts are pure through and through. And I don't know what it is about Martine, but he knows how to find y'all. I'm gonna stick to him like white on rice. No offense, Thomas. So in conclusion, what am I doing? I've got the next Impactor. It's season 2. We do it every other year. We're going to be looking for the next global impactor this year again to give away another $500,000 prize to help that person launch their dream. I also do message discovery coaching for people that really want to zero in on getting their message to a place where you can be hired, like I was in 3 years, 900 paid speaking engagements. And that's why, where is it? It's over here somewhere. But that's why, oh, here it is. I wrote the book on it. Seriously, how to get speaking gigs fast. And I help people do that. Drop the
Read that book.
that lead people, yeah, that lead people to your door to get you hired. And that's what got Goldcast. Let me tell you something. I didn't need to be a Maxwell graduate or anything to get a Goldcast contract. Not just one video, but a contract. All I did was stand on one stage one day, one night, almost ran 3 times. I had a tether on my leg at the time and almost ran because the battery kept running out fast. And I was like, that thing is going to go off in front of 800 people. But I stayed. And I told my story for the very first time. And that's when I learned that underneath every scar is the heart of a story waiting to begin.
Oh, that's good.
And so, you know, I'm so encouraged by all of you. And Tiffany, man, girl, your face alone can win over a crowd. I'm just saying, you've got, all of you have so many, just so many wonderful gifts. It's just incredible. And Martine, God uses you. You're like a purpose magnet that just draws people. You know, even the things that you don't understand about why you're doing something, he sends people like Thomas to make sure it happens. Make sure it happens. You know, we just did that thing for our friend Jessica, who transitioned a couple weeks ago, and I met her because of you. Never in my life have I known somebody such a short period of time and felt like I've known them at the depth that I knew her.
Yeah.
Broke my spirit when she transitioned.
Oh,
you know, and you brought us together. You know what I'm saying? When I think about, I was her last interview, and she let me choose the topic, and I chose the art of grieving. And in less than 30 days, she was gone.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, God uses you, Martine, in big, big ways. And I think all of us are need to, when we have these things, even if we run over or whatever, we've got to connect, stay connected. Just keep turning up the frequency.
Yeah.
Higher and higher. This is the great awakening we're living in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously. So thank you all. And I didn't mean to run through the thing like a bulldozer, but you know. But y'all can all come on my show, and I shut up on there. I let you run. I let you get it out. So if you want to get your words in,
send me an example.
You'll find out Thursday. I'm gonna be nice now for you on Thursday. I was mad earlier.
Thomas. I love you. Thomas, how you doing? Thomas, thank you for encouraging me. Thank you for your push. Like, Thomas is like my walking around with Buddha. You know, like every time I talk to Thomas, it's like I'm, you know, it's like my walking around with Yoda or something. You know, we just kind of like do these little walks. Even when we talk on the phone, we're like walking and talking. You know, it's kind of this thing. And I just want to thank you, Thomas, for, you know, what you bring to my life and what you bring to our friendship and how you get me thinking and how you push me, son of a gun.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell us about you. Tell us what you're up to.
No, if you think this is stretching you, my friend, wait till the next couple of shows. Mm-hmm.
All right, bring it on, baby.
You know I will. So hey, listen,
look.
I know what's that?
You see that? I can't do it. Martine E360. I want you to talk to Martine because I'm about to try to get him to come over to E360 television. This has been on my wall for over a month.
Awesome.
Seriously.
So, so I just want to leave you with this. I know you are rapping, and as always, I think just everything starts with a conversation. If I'm resonating, or I think anybody on the show is resonating, reach out. And sure, I got things going on. I got projects I'm working on. For right now, I think the best thing is connectwiththomas.com. And that's the whole reason I got that URL. It's like connectwiththomas.com, LinkedIn, Facebook. You can find me. You know what I mean? Like most of us, I think most everybody here, if you type in your name, you're going to find you in the social media world. So connect, let's have a conversation. You got something going on. I like to have conversations that matter. I'm over 50. I ain't got time for shit or mess. You know what I mean? Like, did I just say it on your show? Sorry. That's why I like Lauren, because I think it's just like, you know, we cross over 50 and we're like, I ain't got time to mess. People dying in my life. I got stuff to. We got lives to impact. Let's go. You know.
Tiffany, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, Thomas, for introducing us, tagging me on a Facebook post. Was that 2 days ago? That's how this came about.
Yeah.
And Martine, I just wanted to honor and celebrate the space that you've created as well. And, you know, one of the biggest pieces that supports me in my life is being curious. And a recovering judge, judger, judgy, judgy, judgy.
Hmm.
And the opposite side of judgment is acceptance. And my navigation, my tool to get there is being curious rather than jumping in and making an assumption or judging. So I really appreciate where you are and where you're taking this this concept and your theory, if you will. I too am a geek. So I really appreciate the diversity of the panel as well. And, you know, I'm playing in a very big sandbox right now. I too, like Ashton, am biracial, and I have, you know, I have had a lot of privilege in my life, a lot. And I'm seeing now, just like Ashton, you know, you say it one way, I say it a different way. But I've noticed I haven't really come full circle with the privilege, and I'm stepping into that now. And I work privately with leaders, executives, and those who aspire to be. And I work with companies who are looking to create unity, leaders, collaborators, people to be fully expressed in and out of the workplace. And we're not checking things at the door because we're walking into the workplace. In fact, we're bringing it all in, because that is how we innovate, we grow, the creative juices flow. I didn't even know that was going to rhyme. So my company is called Evolve, and you can find us at evolveeq.com. And just like my name, you can find it just like that on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I am always open. I'm always curious, Martin. This is something I always say, I'm curious. I want to know, because I truly, truly want to understand. So no matter where we go after November 3rd, I'm desperate to understand. I don't want to battle. I don't want to fight anymore. I just truly want to understand, to accept, and unite. So thank you.
I love it.
Tiffany, I'm sorry, what was the name of your company?
Evolve.
EVOLVEEQ.
Yep.
Evolve.com.
EvolveEQ.com. So there's 2 E's there.
Together.com. Got it. Awesome. Beautiful.
So, hey guys, I want to thank everybody that hung out and listened tonight to wonderful panel. I think for me, like what I learned is, and a tough thing for me is when somebody raises their voice and speaks to me. That's really hard for me, because I had a father that did that. And so Lauren, who I adore and I love, you could see.
Now, why did I feel that's what's coming?
He does that, right? But he does that. But we can.
That's not anger. That's
no.
passion. That's passion.
I got it. But I understand that. But how it occurs for me is different. It's like a loud noise. Let me say, a loud noise still occurs like a loud noise to somebody, even if it's music, even if it's a trumpet. It just still sounds to the person that has an effect on it. And what I was able to do tonight, and I used curiosity to do that, is just sit in the love, sit in who he is, because I know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
I know who he is for me. And I had a breakthrough in that. I had an amazing breakthrough. So I want to thank you, Lauren, for doing everything you did tonight. And I want to encourage you guys out there that are listening, is that just trust that, like Tiffany said, the discomfort of life, what's on the other side is just goodness. So embrace the discomfort of life as an idea. Stay curious and connect with all these amazing people. And we'll see you next week. And privilege is definitely a conversation we are going to have.
Oh, don't be trying to steal my idea. I'm just kidding. Listen, Marty, for the record, in case you're wrong, any black person, I don't care. This is universal. When it ain't about a love thing and we're just passionate, when they start doing this, that's, oh, what you say? Wait, hold on. When they start taking off their jewelry, that's when you need to start worrying.
Not do the same thing.
I'm just kidding. That's because it's about race. But Martin, I love you like a brother.
Absolutely.
Okay.
More than that.
Right. Okay.
Guys.
I'll be gentle Thursday.
Take care.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you for being here.
Have a good one.